Hello, hello, friends, family in the void that is my followers. I am starting a new stream today about the next part. Let me fix my, there it is. That way I don't end up having accidental echo. I've downloaded Brave. I figured instead of stressing about my other web browser accidentally showing something like where I work or anything like that, accidentally doxing myself or any embarrassing bookmarks or whatever. Instead of worrying about any of those things, I figured it'd probably be best to just use a new browser, entirely new one. And I've had several people talk about the Brave browser, so I figured why not? Check out Brave. I have not used it before. It has an interesting feature over here that I wanted to check out as well called Leo. It looks like it's a chat AI thing. So I might be using some of that as well. Might help with some of my general search things. Like if I go and I'm looking and I say, hey, what does responsibility mean? Responsibility. Embarrass myself by misspelling it. A. How funny is that? Responsibility. With an I. Response E. Okay. And post it. See what Leo says. Says anything. Okay, let's try that again. Hey! Responsibility generally means being accountable for your actions and obligations. There you go. So I could use this nice little chat AI for a quick blurb. Hey, it also tracks the document that is currently open. Let's see how it handles that. How many times is happened mentioned? No, that's not true. We see it right there. Let's try. Nope. I guess it does not have the ability to track what I'm actually looking at. It sees here that I'm looking at something, but it doesn't summarize this page. Let's see what it says about that. I'm on the big one, so makes sense it's taking a while. Can't see the page. Please copy and paste the text. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. That's, well, that's fine. Oh well. I am going to try and reset it real quick. Conversation history. Not what I want. Settings. Clear data. Sure, sure. Close and refresh it. Yes. Um, Summarize page. See if I can do that. Hmm. So for whatever reason, it's unable to read the text here. We can see that even if it was picture to text, it should pick it up. Even if it's highlighting and copying pasting over, it should pick it up. So this is just not a good AI bot. I'll have to explore it a little bit more over time. Maybe there's something I need to do to allow it to view the page. Who knows? Let's try that. Yeah, so no, it does not see. It says it does, but it doesn't. Let's try something easy. Is 42 is the answer? What is the question? That's okay. That's okay. I'll poke at this later. I have another AI that I've been trying out. It's a chat AI as well. I've been doing my own training with it, trying to talk to it about different methods and things. And I'm not coding it or anything like that. I'm not cool like some of the other people like Vital and stuff like that, who's coding his own AI. I just took an like a chat AI, and I've been talking to it and trying to encourage certain behaviors, discouraging other behaviors. I'm currently having a friend test it to see how well I've done with behavior training, and I'm gonna come back to it after and see how that works out. So I might try and see how well that handles all of this in the near future. It has a very short memory though, so it might not be any better than this. But while I know that a lot of people dislike AI, and I personally really do enjoy a good, passionate project that a person, an actual person has made, I definitely prefer artwork from people who are fervent and talented. I mean, even some people who aren't so talented, people just really are into the art of it. I definitely really enjoy a lot of those types of people's artwork. A lot of times you can tell whether something is AI or if it's an actual person's artwork. And most of the time, the AI, I mean, it has its gooner benefits for sure. It's good for salacious artwork, and sometimes it's nice for graphic design work. But overall, it's not there. It's definitely not there for some of the more beautiful. So I don't quite support AI, but I am learning about it because it is undeniable that it is part of our current present, and it may very well be very much part of our future as well. So, at the very least, it should be learned, even if it's not accepted. Getting to the document, I don't think I read this part, so I'll start from the very top. Make sure, open up my side over here. I already have it mostly open. Okay. All right. That's relatively the screen that I have here, so good, good, good. Now, my apology in taking, let's check and see chat just in case somebody actually shows up. Not that one, that's the one on the right. There we go. My apology and taking accountability. Now that I've reviewed everything that happened and had time to reflect on my own actions, there are some details I need to point out and corrections I need to make from my apology. Then I'll go over the things Red or I or both of us did wrong, so we can take responsibility. Each section after this will explain the full story around each major individual involved. I will probably also take some time to do a little bit of side research as I progress through these. Uh, Meandering back through and re-reviewing things with Silvervale led me to understand and observe that there's still some details that we actually have not fully grasped yet, and there's still some things that should be further investigated just a little bit more in order to fully encapsulate the extent of these people's lies towards Cinder. I say that because they have. I've even in the Silvervale video, I very distinctly and very clearly demonstrated that there was lies and extremely deceptive misconstruing, both of which occurred from Silvervale towards Cinder. Silvervale blatantly misrepresented the situation where she had said that Cinder's manager, Red, had reached out to Silvervale's manager asking why Silvervale's mother had not retweeted the image, when in fact it was that they were asking why she unretweeted the image. This is critical in that it would be weird to ask, "Hey, why isn't your mother retweeting this?" I mean, that's who the hell asks that? However, from a PR perspective, if you see somebody post something that's close, like if there's somebody who's close to a creator or a colleague, and you see that close person who does a thing and then they retract the thing. From a PR perspective, that becomes a concern. Okay, clearly this is something that they took a second look at and decided never mind on. So, in order to better improve upon their conduct, it would be prudent for them to then reach out and say, hey, why did you decide never mind on this? That is a completely legitimate question. So that one, those two little letters in that word changes the entire dynamic of the situation, which is where and how it would be said that Silver was clearly lying. It wasn't that they asked why she didn't retweet it. They asked why she had unretweeted it. Super distinct. She even later on goes on to show this in her live stream, and for obvious reasons, she ended up having it edited out in her actual posting of the video, where it was no longer visible, demonstrating that she had contradicted herself in that way. So, and we see that because her current video, we look at other people's reaction videos to her live stream, and they don't match. So there's intentional deception, there's intentional lying, and there's intentional misconstruing of the situation on these people's behalf towards Cinder. So there's it is a completely safe thing to say that they are lying about her. And I will be trying to go through some of these other documents from these people. For instance, I will probably try to bring up the Mizuhana video and do a very brief cursory review over the differences between Shy Lily's original video and Shy Lily's edited video, because there are certain things in there that is very clearly deceptive. I don't want to go too far into that video for sure, in particular because of the fact that Shy Lily curses a lot, and I'm very new into this whole thing, and I would rather not get censored out. I'd rather not get dinged or otherwise have problems because of a high-end creator not being able to, not having discipline, not being able to be professional. It works for her. That's fine. I'm glad that she's able to have that personality, that character, and she's so successful with it. That's great. I am certainly not there yet. So I'm going to try and minimize the amount of exposure I present of that in this. I will try to cover as much of it as I can, though, within my concerns. Um, let's see here. Now that we've reviewed what have apologies at the document, so defend ourselves against everything we didn't do. Quotes from my apology will be present throughout this document to show what they were in reference to. Screenshots that are directly of or taken from another document are highlighted with an orange border. Dates and important messages within my screenshots are highlighted in yellow. Quotes from my apology are highlighted in gray. Red's own comments and anything being presented or labeled are labeled and highlighted in blue. So anything from Red at all, every single thing is going to be blue. The orange, it is likely, because there's a lot of people who presented a lot of information, it's likely that Cinder took a lot of that as part of her formulating her own document, which would make most sense. People really put together a lot of great organization. Sparky in particular put everything in chronological order, making it super clear. So it would make absolute sense that she is grabbing some things from other people's documents and videos and files, and it's great that she is highlighting those with orange to present, hey, look at this. Dates and important messages. So the yellow one, clearly right off the bat, we see she highlighted this in yellow from her apology. That is clearly in, from her perspective, whether it's important or not. I mean, that makes sense that because important is subjective. So that absolutely makes sense that it's going to be things that she finds important as opposed to who are things that are objectively important. That's okay. For instance, her apology note. I don't know that the date for the apology note is really relevant. All that really matters is that she did post it, but that's okay. She decided to highlight it, and that's fine. And I will go ahead and open this as well, just to go into it, see that it's still there. I'm actually going to save this. Uh, yeah, this is fine. One moment. With all my caution, I'm still course, I did it again. Sorry. Got to unmute myself. I'm now unmuted. I will go through and reread it one more time. The things I claimed and admitted to in my apology were based on what I knew at the time, what was published in everyone else's documents, and what Red told me right after. I shut him out when I shouldn't have. I made my apology without his help, without all the information, without all of the info in front of me, and without knowing the full scope of what happened, how it happened, or what to believe. I was under extreme stress and pressure to say something as soon as I could and was expected to accept fault for everything I was accused of, but not guilty of doing. Some of the things I wrote were overly apologetic, and I made things sound worse than they actually were because of the severity of the situation. The main takeaway people had from my apology, give it a yawn, no, next time it comes, was that I published everything onto Red, pushed everything onto Red, and didn't take accountability for anything myself. Yeah, but that's only because people were being stupid. They're still being stupid. There was no real reason, or it was not a valid takeaway, quite honestly, for people to decide that Cinder was pushing everything on Red. Cinder, yeah, I'll bring it up now. Yeah, for that alone, that right there, for that specifically, I'll go and bring it up and present. There's nothing, no way I can make this better, but for convey my feelings. This is all aspects of what I do and being a major part of why I'm here. So I've been in a relationship since okay, it's no secret. Yeah, it's discussed anyways. And never intended to mention this publicly. Here it is. Ah, sorry. His hyper business oriented outlook warped my view of what it was I should be doing, what should be important to me as I navigated this career. So that's where she made things sound worse than they were, because she had expressed that she was supposedly taking a business-like perspective on it, rather than otherwise. I have a terrible work-life balance and being around projects, which because that's part of why a lot of the quote unquote the girlies really tried to drive home that Cinder was way too business-like and that nothing was actually real with her. And I wouldn't agree with that. It does not make sense for the most part. Majority of the work time Red was almost solely doing communication, so that's where it would be perceived that she's pushing things onto Red. Nano had a project server where we were all a part of. I was not fully aware. Again, pushing on Red, I see that. Should have been more diligent in my oversight every time I had been told that Nano had agreed to work on a new commission with me. It had been willing and with excitement. From my point of view, it was that she generally wanted to work on things. Okay, she was working more time, projects negotiated. I don't get why. I'm starting to feel like yawning. I didn't did the first time. The first two streams, I did not feel like yawning. Suddenly, when there's a camera on me, suddenly I feel like I gotta yawn. However, the claim that I was just using her was wrong. Okay. I kind of get where, okay. I kind of understand the perspective where supposedly she was pushing everything on Red. I get it. Okay, sure. What I blame Red for in my apology because he was guilty of doing. Him telling me how great it would be to work together with Silvervale. That makes sense. I can see how he might have encouraged that. I mean, I think to some extent as well that she was also definitely excited about the idea, passionate. I'm going to use the word passionate. I could also see how she might have been passionate about the idea of working with Silvervale as well. I mean, Silvervale's character looked a lot like the original Cinder model concept that she had, and she actually ended up having to change, or not have to. She did change her model so that it would not conflict with the way that Silvervale's model looks. She didn't want people to accuse her of copying Silvervale, and so that right off the bat could have easily tied her into uh, a parasocial attraction. I think attraction would be the word. She felt gravitated towards Silvale in a parasocial sense because of that entanglement initially. I could absolutely see that from her interaction. And then after that, perhaps Red probably encouraged it because it would be good PR and business if the two had a working relationship, which would make sense. It would also help avoid any conflicts or issues from their model looking similar yet still, which all around it was just a good business idea. Him holding grudges against Bao. So I'm not sure. Oh yeah, the editor. I'll go through Bao first. That would be a good one to go through first because Silvervale and Bao were the two hardest ones that were presented, that most damning videos against Cinder. Silvervale, we already went through and demonstrated how it was not justified. I think Bao's would be more justified, and Bao absolutely would be more. Hers is more legitimate. Her tears, her emotions are absolutely valid, and it is also more justified. I think that actually there is some justification behind Bao's anguish. I'm going to use the word anguish. However, I do think that it was still overplayed for sure, and it's actually in the video with Bao where it is presented that she was encouraged to do certain things, and on top of that, it was shortly after her surgery. So there was a lot of raw emotion, and she wasn't entirely of her best self. So it makes sense that a lot of that came out and it pushed the situation more. So of the two, Silver and Bao were the most harmful towards Cinder, and Bao was the most justified. Um, so I understand where the grudge between Red and Bao came from. Red believes that Bao stole some of Cinder's editors from certain collaborative efforts in the past, and so Red kind of probably wanted to get back at them, or otherwise he wanted to make the scales even, or it's difficult to say, but I could absolutely see where that comes from, him holding a grudge against Bao. That was a 2025 thing, I think. I'll be able to find out the exact dates again whenever I'm reading through those details. And then she continues on. When I blamed Red, take away from people. Okay, just points and notes. Okay, fine. What I blamed Red for in my apology when I was also guilty. Hmm. Yawns. Go away, yawns. Red was the one with business-oriented outlook on things from the start. I adopted that same mindset myself from working together as time went on. I wrongly made it sound like I was brainwashed into thinking this way in my apology. I wouldn't quite put it that way. I understand where she's coming from with that statement, though. What Red was guilty of in my apology that I didn't know about until writing it. Red and Nano Red and Nano ever talking about a model for Geary in November 2023. Mm, I don't know that situation, or I don't recall it at this time. Red, including Bao and Cotton in his conversation, an eventual deal with Nano around exclusivity in January 2025, and bad-mouthing Bao in their DMs as if they were our shared feelings. Okay. Red talking to Nano about Shiley and her model in April 2025. Okay. I'll be right back. That'll help. Let's see. So right now, I'm noticing that I'm fussing with my nose a bit too much. Just as a note, I do have damaged sinuses. The cartilage in my nose, the cartilage in my nose is shattered. Some of it's still kind of jagged, and it pokes around sometimes, and it kind of inflames a little bit of my nostril. So as I'm messing with my nose, I understand people probably like, "Oh my gosh, stop touching your face," yada yada. It inflames. It gets agitated. Yeah, yeah. It's because I feel it's like an itch from like a pen. You're poking yourself. And you're like, oh, that kind of I feel that. I feel that. Oh my gosh, that's fine. Feels weird. So you kind of want to go over and sort of brush whatever is doing it off. You kind of want to adjust it, move the thing, etc., etc. That's I'm trying not to do it, just like I'm trying not to yawn, but that's why I got damaged sinus, damaged cartilage in my nose. So go back. I didn't know what Red was guilty of. That's 2025. Things I said about Red in my apology that I was wrong about. He did not manipulate Nano, correct? Did not push Nano to not work with Silvervale, and she was not a constant topic between them, correct? Things I took accountability for in my apology: agreeing with Red to talk with Nano about exclusivity, agreeing to specifically name Silvervale in the terms, and knowing a deal involving her was made. Okay, so she concedes that at some point she did know that there was going to be a deal and that she was agreeing to it and that she had accepted that Silvervale was mentioned in the deal. Okay. Guilt tripping Nano. I don't think that she guilt tripped anybody though. I really don't agree with that quote unquote statement of accountability. I don't think that she guilt tripped anybody. Not that I saw. I mean, maybe her following screenshots will reveal something else I didn't see, but I don't think that she guilt tripped anybody. She it quite clearly was ready to just yeah, quite ready to set Nano free. Just okay, if you feel this way, very well, please be free. I mean, perhaps it was some kind of reverse psychology attempt. I, I wouldn't know, but it did not look like it. It was very much a consent to freedom. This is what you want, be free. Feeling overly attached to Nano and her work. Yes, I mean, that's a fair thing though. I, Without a proper prior contract, it is true that legally she was not obligated to Nano's time or loyalty or dedication. However, it is a fact that Cinder put in a lot of resources and time into building Nano up. I learned that apparently she hired people to help train Nano to be a part together some of these. That was odd. It was a flicker. Oh well. Uh, help build Nano up. She was part of training Nano. Uh, One could almost say still that Cinder made Nano. Almost. So I don't think that it was wrong to feel attached to Nano because of all that investment. It would be justified, in fact, to want to get a return for that investment. I mean, some of Nano's models now supposedly go for $10,000, $5,000. I think some of the base for an actual V2 model. It's crazy. It is crazy the amount that she's charging for her models. And like I remember hearing from Elfpira Ava, that her model was like 100 and something. And it's kind of basic, really is. Has like basic eye tracking, I think, maybe slight head tracking. Everything else is pretty. stationary. I can't, I don't know what the average V2 model might be, but it's just going from 100, maybe $200 to $10,000 is astronomically different, in my opinion. That's a solid 10,000% up. It's crazy. So not knowing about what Red had said about Bao to Nano when I should have. She should have been aware of what her manager was saying. Not speaking to Bao about Red's feelings towards her. I mean, she apologized for not doing it, but I don't think that was really something that was untoward. I don't think that she could have predicted that there was really that much of an issue because she didn't know that Red had what was the word she used? A grudge. She didn't know that Red had a grudge against Bao, so why would she try to check up on that? She understood that there was some inner workings against Silvervale, but there was nothing stated with regards to Bao on that end. So I guess we'll see more about that later. About to Bao to Nano than when I should have. Not speaking about Red feelings, letting it spiral to the point it did. Being upset and taking it personally when Bao hired my video editor. Okay, so other people speculated this. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It is speculated that the main thing that started with Bao is that Cinder probably complained about the situation, about her perception between Bao and the editor, that she believed that Bao had stolen the editor, and perhaps Red, being a male, probably took this as okay, my woman has a problem with this. My woman is hurting. My woman is upset. I need to fix this. And the male instinct kicked in, and he went out and started taking steps to do something about it. Whether it's justified or not, that's definitely open to debate, but I absolutely see how that probably is how those things cascaded through. Um, Personally, about how, being upset when Sacramore, I don't know who Sacramore is, told us he, oh, that's the editor. Being upset when Sacramore told us he wouldn't be working with us again, confiding in Red about Shiloh's behavior towards me. I think it was fair. Shiloh, if Cinder hadn't said anything or had any problems with the Shiley situation, it probably would have blown up so much more than it did. So that probably was something that did help Cinder because Shiley clearly was going to blow up on all of us anyways. Shiley had clearly been stewing on her problems with Cinder and had problems with Cinder's rise to fame. She expressed herself. I mean, she had sat back and was watching, waiting, and looking for the situation to fall apart the entire time. She felt uneasy about Cinder for whatever her reasons were. She expressed this herself. She felt, I'll probably bring that up in the Mizuhana video. She had expressed that she felt certain emotions about the entire situation for years. So if Cinder and Red had not taken the actions they did, Shiley probably would have hit Cinder a lot harder. It would probably been a lot worse, a lot less room for recourse or action with regards to the situation. So it's probably a good thing what Red did with with Nano and Shiley. Becoming resentful towards Silvervale, that probably would have been, was a mistake. Letting my insecurities and public comments influence my feelings towards Silvervale, yes, again, probably was a mistake. Assuming Spike copied me, I mean, there's a very real possibility Spike did. I saw some of the models between Spike and Cinder, and I have seen some of the documentations about it. It was some suspect things, but that's fine. She's saying that she's taking accountability and apologizing for assuming those things. Okay, sure. Being very possessive of my design details early in my career, overreacting to Neon Tails Hellhound OC design, I'll have to look at. I can do that right now. Let's see. Neon Tails, Hellhound, OC design. Get the full thing in there. I don't get it. Okay, let's add Cinder into the center. Hope that is SFW. So Hellhound Design's hell of a boss. So apparently, no. Okay, I get what that's saying. There it is. That's probably the one that explains it. Let's go through some of these other ones. Make sure. Well, that's pretty cool. I like that art. Cinder Hellhound from PP Delacroix. That's pretty good art. Nice stuff. Close that up. I'm gonna close this out and vet it real quick. Be right back. So I'm looking for I can show you this now. It's not showing anything for these. Oh, hey, did I find it? Okay, that's probably it. And yeah, good. It is safe for work enough. And that be the one. It seems running pattern here is that Cinder thinks a concept must belong exclusively to her, whether it be the artist and Nanolith or the concept of a hellhound girl with neon tails. Despite so, I guess she had an issue with the hellhound concepts. Who even is neon tails, neon tails. Let's go on this one. YouTube. Oh, no, this one. Blog YouTube. That's weird. I don't want blog YouTube. There we go. Oh, no, I don't want ASMR stuff, but that's fine. There we go. They're not bigger. Stop. They're not bigger. What are you talking about? Cinder's over 300,000 or had. Let's see if it's last I saw it was 310,000. Come on. There she is. 310,000. Yeah, no, she's three times bigger. What do you mean? Is it crazy? Mm, that's unfortunate. That would have been a nice stream to end on, but of course she would have canceled. Okay, we sell enough here. So apparently she was reacting about Neon Tales Hellhound OC design. I'll do a little bit more research in that. I didn't hear anything about that before, which was apologized for in the past. Okay, cheating on my boyfriend. That's between her and her boyfriend. It's nothing we really need to be involved with. Neglecting or leaving behind friends of mine. A lot of her friends were complaining that they did feel like she was neglecting them or leaving them behind to pursue business ventures. So I get why she's complaining, or not complaining, apologizing for that. Whew, I'm burning out a little bit. Too early, too fast. I'll get used to doing this stuff. I'm an introvert, so doing all this talking, not really my thing. I'll get used to it though. I admitted to the world that I cheated on my secret boyfriend, and the story pushed was that I took no accountability and used him as a scapegoat. Even with all these concessions of what I did do, I was still somehow a narcissist who couldn't accept fault. That was largely something Shiloh said. What I did was not what I did was not admit to the right things the people making these claims already decided I was guilty of. They also expected me to apologize for everything I've ever done without any of it ever being mentioned, even if the matter was already settled in the past. I understand that the things my manager did that I didn't know about are ultimately my responsibility, and my ignorance doesn't change that. I should have taken more care to check up on what he was saying and doing. But I was being blamed publicly for things I had nothing to do with. My accusers went out of their way to claim Cinder did this and Cinder said that, completely disregarding Red's agency from any of his own words and actions. The proof I must have known about everything what he's ever said and done was because they said we worked on things together on our phones during the few times a year we were traveling. And Nano's document showed two of my screenshots from over a year apart from separate situations where I knew more or less what had happened between her and Red. There was no other evidence presented for their claim, but they told everyone it absolutely had to be this way. Yes, they did. Emphasis was placed on Red's usage of we and our, as they could know for a fact, as if they know could know for a fact. The emphasis was placed on Red's usage of we and our, as if they could know for a fact that it meant Red was always speaking with my knowledge, approval, and oversight every single time he said it. This was necessary for their narrative to work against me. This is what I said in my apology about this. I do not condone anything about what Red said about Bao in these DMs either. And I'm using and him using we and our in this context is aberrant, incorrect, and I believe was done to gain greater credibility behind what he was saying. People do that. Red. This is from Red now. Red specifically said, I have always been more or less the creative lead on things we did, like model designs, project ideas, and art in general, and Cinder often agreed with my creative judgment. She trusted me to do the communications I did for her without oversight. For example, a lot of times I would be the one talking to the artists we were working with who only knew me as Cinder's manager. That was stated weird. A lot of times I would be the one talking to the artists we were working with who only knew me as Cinder's manager. Okay? Improper English is bothering me. If I knew the direction I wanted to take something, with or without talking to Cinder beforehand, I said, I want this art to be like this, instead of Cinder wants this art to be like this. Then it felt like an awkward thing for me to say in my mind to the person we're working with. I'm just the manager, not the creator, not the streamer, not their clients. What I would myself wanted wasn't important. What Cinder wanted was. So, in order to give weight to what I would say, I started using we early on without speaking for her directly, saying, Cinder, if we wanted to do something a certain way, then it'd give me agency by implying that we both agreed on and made the decision. That Cinder was aware of this decision, of the decision being made, regardless of if she actually was or wasn't at the time, and that my words had meaning. I was speaking on we the brand's behalf. It became a habit of mine to talk this way regarding any projects or business dealings. I didn't start doing this because anyone told me I should be. I didn't speak like this all the time or in every single message. It's not like Cinder never knew about what I was saying when saying we. If afterwards she did disagree with me on something, then I'd have to walk back what I said and say that Cinder actually wants it this way. For example, very often Cinder was on the same page as me beforehand, would agree with what I said without her knowledge using we afterwards. In the case of the exclusivity deal with Nano, I used we when talking about Bao, so it seemed like Cinder also backed to how I felt. Cinder not only wasn't aware of this, but I knew she didn't agree with me about what I was saying. In our conversation, Nana said herself that she was not really down with working with people who Cinder didn't want her to. They also bracketed some of those, like they bracketed with, they bracketed didn't, and her. Cinder wants her to. So it said, not really down working with people who Cinder want her to. So I guess in the actual text it was probably broken and they're trying to prepare it to make it more proper to English. I don't think Nano speaks English as her first language. That's probably why some of her conversations show up as more broken. Uh, So I made sure to tell Nana how we felt, expressing my own feelings to her as if they were both of ours. This will all be shown in Nano's section. I mean, to be clear, nearly all of the conversations we see between Nano and Red clearly only have Nano and Red. You don't see Cinder involved in those conversations. You don't see group texts or anything like that between the three of them. It's mostly Nano and Cinder, or Nano and Red, talking to each other. And the few times you see Cinder talking to Nano, you also don't see Red. The two conversations are clearly separate. There are three things in my apology I need to correct that will be known in full details in this document. Missing information, lies, and incorrect. This is back to Cinder talking, supposedly. There are three things, correct document. Missing information, lies, and incorrect statements in my apology. I left out a lot of information regarding my experience with Silvervale in trying to overly apologize to her and ended up making things sound much worse than what really happened. I lied about not knowing that Red spoke to Nano about Spite in 2023 to not making things worse for myself by revealing more than Nano or Spite did about what happened regarding her. I was wrong about which year the situation with Ninetales took place in. I wrote that it was after my debut, but was actually an entire year earlier. Okay, so I guess it was before Cinder actually came out. I that's probably because she was trying to wedge in her character, and too many changes can be problematic and expensive. So I can kind of see how she might have reacted to that, but regardless, that was before she came out. My apology and accusations made against me did not cover everything Red and I have done wrong. I've laid out everything below that will be present presented throughout this document so we can address them and take responsibility, explaining the motives and reasoning behind our actions are not meant to justify or diminish them or the feelings of those affected, but to understand why they happened. Everything one of us or both of us are guilty of, that accountability is taken for and shown in this document in the order they're presented in. Probably gonna do one more page after this and then I'll stop for now. Everything one of us, okay. We both became neglectful of many friendships and personal relationships online and in real life. Red and I became consumed by our work and prioritized by career over all else. Red considered everyone, including our friends, competition to some degree. I agreed. Red and I left Tricky at our hotel in Tokyo one day during our. Okay, so these are two separate notes. Red considered everyone, including our friends, competition to some degree, and I agreed. Then another time, she's saying, Red and I left Tricky at our hotel in Tokyo one day during our Japan trip in October 2024. I don't, I don't remember. I think I might have heard something about something like that where she just left, but I don't remember the details on that. I chose to distance myself from Cotton after what happened between her and a friend. I tried going back on my agreement with the artist Nixu in April 2025. Red asked Nano to not work with Spite in January 2023 and told me about it afterwards. I lied about not knowing he spoke to her about Spite in my apology to avoid talking about it. Red initially dissuaded Nano from accepting a model from Geary in November 2023. I guilt tripped Nano in November 2024 and February 2025, but still sided with her. Red reassured Nano about her considering and canceling Bao's model in August 2024. I knew Bao's model was canceled in 2024, August 2024, and I didn't try to do anything about it. Red and I agreed to talk with Nano about exclusivity, including not to work with Silvervale, specifically on any more models in January 2025. Red and Nano agreed to a deal for her to not to work with Silver, Bow, or Cottontail in January 2025. Everything one of us or both of us guilty about account is taken for and shown in this document. So they're going to cover that. Okay. Only telling me about Silvervale's inclusion. So she's emphasizing she only knew about the Silvervale aspect of that agreement. Red spoke to Nano about Shy Lily in April 2025 after seeing Nano work on a model for her. Red spoke to Nano about Shy Lily and never told me about this in the conversation. We asked our video editor about exclusivity after Bao started working with them in September 2023. Red convinced himself Bao gatekept her video editor to our future music video productions in December 2024 when held a grudge and list of grievances against her. I didn't speak to Bao to clear things up about what I knew Red held against her, and it led to me being an awful friend to her for months at the start of 2025. So she knew? Okay. I mean, it's kind of hard to not know that part that Bao would be upset, or Red would be upset about the situation with Bao and that editor, I guess. Good info to have. Keep that in mind. Both Red and I mismanaged the planning and communication with Numi about her concert at the start of February 2025. I pulled out of performing in her show and almost didn't go after choosing business over my friend. Both Red and I mismanaged the planning and communication with Numi about her concert at the start of February 2025. I pulled out of performing in her show and almost didn't go after choosing business over a friend. Okay. I mean, I heard specific situations with regards to that, that supposedly she was kind of pressed into not going. So I think that Cinder, that still just puts too much weight on Cinder in that regard. I don't think that that situation was her fault. We'll probably recover that if we eventually get through uh, Shiley's side of all this as we go through and re-review those videos and documentations, like I said I was going to. First, I want to do Bow, and then I'm going to do Shiley. I'll probably then do Numi. Numi was not really involved too much, so that would be easy. I'll probably do a little bit on Buff Pub. I believe that one of them removed their document about it. Who else was there? Shiley, Buff Pup, Bao, Numi, Silvervale. Uh, there's one more, I think. I'll figure them out later. We both grew to dislike Silvervale over the past few years for various reasons, including harassment, comparisons, my own insecurities, and how Silvervale acted towards me. Silvervale, I mean, again, Cinder obviously became very parasocial towards Silvervale. So it was kind of fair that Silvervale was dejecting that, like she was acting dejected towards all that, like it was bothersome and weird. So, okay. And then Cinder didn't take that rejection very well. I could absolutely see that socially, often happens when people get parasocial and then they feel like rejection or a lack of reciprocation. That parasocial obsession quickly turns into a form of resentment. So I could absolutely see that. Red asked an artist not to work with Silvervale in March 2025 and never told me about it. An artist. I don't know what other artists there were. Okay. Red and I assumed Spite was copying me in 2022 and early 2023. I mean, it definitely looks like it. It definitely looks like it. From what I was, Spite was the other one. That's probably. I'll read through some of Spite stuff, but I'll probably do Spite last, quite honestly. I'm not really interested in that situation, but it really did, from what I saw, it looked like Spite was kind of copying Cinder. Um, I overreacted to Nianteo's Hellhound OC design in 2021. She's mentioned that three times now, I think. Two, three. Every claim of wrongdoing that was made against Red or I that isn't listed above is not true. Whether it was an assumption or a lie in someone's document statement about me or verbally on the stream, I would list the false accusations here, but there's been such a ridiculous amount at this point that I don't even know where to start. I will let this document speak for itself. It is true there's been a ridiculous amount of false accusations. Just wow. These actions were not over years like the public was told. The majority of these actions happened in an 8 month span from August 2024 to April 2025. How much each person was affected, if they were affected at all, is explained throughout this document. Nothing was black and white, and none of these actions were motivated by jealousy, envy, greed, or being malicious for the sake of it. Uh, I'm going to go through this part and I'm probably going to stop for a bit. I'll probably stream a little bit more in an hour later on if I'm still awake. I have the energy for it, but I'm going to take a break after this. My friends, it's been falsely claimed that I was using, manipulating, sabotaging, betraying, and backstabbing all of my friends for years in an effort to deplatform them and ruin their careers. There was never some kind of years long grand conspiracy of deceit against anyone, and I have never pushed the ladder down behind me. I have never been jealous or envious of any of my friends or anyone else. My friends were not stepping stones I used to further myself. I love my friends. Our experiences together were real. Our memories together are real. It hurts that I even need to say that here. There are plenty of things my friends know I've done for them, helped them with, or included them in for no other reason than that they were my friends. I've always answered their questions and offered them advice when they asked, done my best to be there and support them at their debuts with their own endeavors, and I've personally bought so much of their merch for myself without ever saying so. I literally brought brownies my mom made across the country to share with them. I spent my own time making one of a kind cosplay pieces of their VTubers for them for no other reason than that they were my friends. More than the three finished pieces below were planned for more of my friends, including Bao, before I put all of my crafting focus into Neolister cosplay. It meant a lot to me that I could make things that meant a lot to them. She shows pieces of their cosplays that she made for them. Cinder is absolutely creator. She's very artistic. That piece that was done between that was of her character and Silverell. I'm absolutely convinced she made that. So she's an artist. She is a cosplay maker. It is very clear. That metal thing though, that's interesting. I wonder how. I'm dubious that she's making that, but if she is, I wonder how she's making it because that looks really cool. I don't know what they think I did against them. No, I'm going to take my break now. Okay. I'm going to stop for now, and I'll pick this up a little bit later. All right. See you guys later.